Says we're streaming live, so go ahead, Arnie. I'm gonna just let the other two people in.
Okay, Joe, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the July 17th, 2024 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We'll open with the roll call. Mr. Chiocchio?
Here.
Ms. Hofstetter?
Here.
Mr. Sylvain?
Here.
Mr. Haas?
Here.
Chairman Finaldi is here. Our meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We'll open with the roll call. Mr. Chiocchio? Is everybody getting it? Ms. Hofstetter?
Here.
What is that?
Can you tell, Lorraine Cedar, can you mute yourself?
Somebody has to mute their phone or desktop or laptop or iPad.
I think you're fine, Arnie, go ahead.
That was the
Okay, good.
YouTube, Arnie. I'm sorry, I was muted and I didn't realize it. That was the YouTube and I had to shut the volume, I had to shut it off, the sound. You're okay
No
now.
Okay, good. Somebody has to mute their phone or desktop or laptop or iPad.
I think you're fine. Can you mute? Can you mute Lorraine Cedar?
Sorry, I was muted and I didn't realize.
Go ahead, Arnie.
All right, we'll try that again. Okay, well, we had the roll call. Everyone's here. I guess you've all heard Cheryl Wallace Smith has submitted her letter of resignation. I guess she is going to be moving on to the Danbury City Council. So did a very short tenure on the Planning Commission. I guess they're going to look for somebody to fill the vacancies, but I have no information on that. I don't imagine, Joanne or Jennifer, do you have any information on her replacement? No. Okay.
No.
All right. Okay, before we move into the agenda, just the regular virtual meeting intro. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties shall continue to have the opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise, which we just did. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per standard practice. If prior to the meeting, any questions or comments on agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches do sometimes occur. Please be patient if that happens. Okay. With that all said, we'll move right to our agenda. The first item is the acceptance of the minutes. We have two different sets of minutes, June 5th and June 26th, 2024. Those have been distributed. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to abstain from voting on the meeting of June 26th, as I did not attend. And I would like to make a motion then, if we split the motions,
Yes.
for the acceptance of the minutes of June 5th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes of June 5th. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of June 5th are accepted. I'll entertain a motion for the minutes of June 26th.
Dan.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the June 26th meeting.
Motion made by Mr. Chiocchio, seconded by Mr. Sylvain. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of June 26th are accepted. Please note your calendars. The next meeting of the Planning Commission is scheduled for August 7th, 2024. There are no new public hearings this evening. As per the agenda, the continuation of public hearing from the Midwestern Connecticut Council on Alcoholism, Inc. I'll read the whole thing. Application for special exception, revised site plan approval for expansion of existing dependency treatment center, section 5B2B11 in the CA80 zone 38, Old Ridgeberry Road, C16024, special exception number 799. As stated on the agenda, This hearing will be continued until the next regular meeting. There will be no testimony or discussion at tonight's meeting. Janet, do I need a motion to continue? I think I do, right?
Yes, you do.
Okay, is there anything you want to add to that, or we're just waiting for any discussion on this one, or are we just waiting for more information?
We're waiting for Mike Mizuko to submit revisions. We recently received the engineering department report, I want to say within the past week or so. So we want to allow Mike enough time to make those necessary revisions.
Okay. Unless there's any questions, I'll entertain a motion to continue. Motion made by
Motion to
Mr.
continue this public
Stiltner.
hearing until the next meeting.
Thank you, Perry. Any second? Do I have a second?
No,
Second.
Second. Helen, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? This matter is continued till our next meeting on August 7th. There's nothing under old business for discussion of possible action, so we'll move right to the referrals. There are 3 of them. One's an A3A, and then there's 2 824s. A3 referral, petition of attorney Neil R. Marcus, agent for Xavier and Alina Gomez, to add section 4G6C to the zoning regulations, add poultry as household pets as an accessory use to the residential zones. The zoning commission hearing on this matter is scheduled for July 23rd, 2024. And there's been quite a bit of stuff, information distributed, and I will turn it over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Jennifer Eminger, Acting Planning Director. So you have my staff report dated July 16th. As Arnie said in the reading of the agenda item, we have a petition from attorney Neil Marcus to add section 4G6C to the zoning regulations, poultry as household pets. This amendment would allow poultry as household pets in the RA8, RA20, RA40, and RA80 zoning districts. The reasons given by the petitioner are in the attached petition, or not attached to the staff report, listed on the agenda. The background, so pursuant to 4G6A, the keeping of livestock and poultry shall not be permitted except in a farm in zoning districts where farming is specifically allowed as a use. Farms require a special exception and can only be located in the RA80 zoning district and must be 5 acres. The definition of a farm, a tract of 5 acres or more used for agriculture, forestry, nursery, or truck gardening, or for raising of animals for laboratory use or for fur. As per section 4A5F, all poultry, including pigeons, shall be kept within a building or fenced enclosure with a maximum of 250 chickens allowed on any lot. Again, this is in an RA80 zone, 5 acres of land. Furthermore, the section also provides provisions for the keeping of horses or other equines as household pets only in the RA80 zone. So when I put together the staff report, just as a little background, sometimes we just, we go through the whole section, proposed section, and we provide comments. In this case, because there's so many subsections, I decided to address each one line item by line item. So that's why you see, so the text in bold and underline is the original text proposed by the petitioner. Staff comments are immediately following. So with respect to 4G6, again, use regulations, accessory uses, little c is poultry as household pets. The keeping of chickens as household pets shall be permitted in the RA8, 20, 40, 80 zones, subject to the following provisions. Our comment, the proposed subsection poultry as household pets is a direct conflict with 4G6A, which only permits the keeping of livestock and poultry as part of a farm. The text of the zoning regs cannot regulate one way and then allow it in a different context in another subsection. That, again, for the reasons noted, this should be avoided. The proposed text amendment does not provide provisions or restrictions for any other varieties of poultry. And you can see in the 3 bulleted points, poultry is, and I included the Connecticut General Statute, USDA definition, and the CDC definition, which is generally about the same. Poultry is defined as any species of domestic fowl. This is the Connecticut General Statutes. Any species of domestic fowl, including but not limited to chickens, turkeys, ostriches, emus, rheas. I can't even pronounce that. Cassowaries. Waterfowl, game birds raised for food production, breeding, exhibition, or sale. The USDA, again, it's generally the same, the same type. They include goose, pheasant, rock Cornish hens. And again, the Centers for Disease Control, generally the same type of varieties. So based on the above, it's clear that poultry is a very broad term and includes more than just chickens. It begs the question as to why the petitioner only provided restrictions relative to chickens and no other species of poultry. As interpreted by the ZEO, other varieties of poultry would be allowed without any restrictions or controls, including larger birds such as turkeys, ostriches, and emus. Under number 1, a maximum of 16 chickens per acre are allowed in RA 40 and 80, and a maximum of 12 per lot in the RA 80 and RA 20. And again, the commission knows, RA 80 is 80,000 square feet, RA 40 is 40,000, RA 20, 20,000, RA 8, 8,000. And again, these are what we call 2 acre zones, 1 acre, half acre, quarter acre. But a true acre is 43,560 square feet. So you can be in an RA 40, be 40,000 square feet and not be an acre. A blanket allowance of 12 chickens per lot in the RA 80 and RA 20 districts without considering the actual size of the lot is problematic, as it does not consider undersized lots or those lots with non-conforming uses. Such a requirement with no minimum lot area is not recommended. Number 2, the chicken coop must meet the following requirements, and this is A through G. A, the chicken coop must be located no closer than 20 feet from any side or rear property line and located behind the front building facade or the primary residence. This restriction is necessary. The department queries if 20 feet is sufficient, especially in the RA 8 and RA 20 zoning districts where the parcels are smaller, closer together, denser. The commissions may wish to consider if further setback limitations are warranted to ensure there's adequate distance from the adjacent properties. B talks about the maximum height of the chicken coop. The department has no objection to this restriction. 8 feet is typically the industry standard. C is, again, it's the maximum size of the chicken coop, which is 96 square feet. The department has no objection to limiting the size, although one wonders if 96 square feet is adequate, especially if you have more than, 16 chickens per acre, you can have more than 32 chickens, and is that 96 square feet going to be adequate? Letter D, the chicken coop must be screened along the boundary of the adjacent property by a fence or planted strip. The department believes this requirement is vague, fails to provide details as to the type and height of the fence, nor does it provide details relative to the types of plantings, size at the time of planting, and the width of the planted strip. The commission should keep in mind that a fence or a screen does not eliminate the known nuisance issues, which include noise, odor, dust, and attraction of rodents. E, each chicken coop must contain at least 3 square feet per chicken occupant. As noted above, there are industry standards for the amount of coop area required. The commission must determine if the 3 square feet is sufficient for a healthy flock. Letter F, chicken coops must be roofed, stationary, secure, and closed. The department has no objection to that requirement. G, if an outside run-in is provided, it shall be enclosed in a manner to contain the chickens. So I have some concerns about this language, as you can see in the text. So the text only applies if an outside run, he calls it a run-in, it's a chicken run, is provided. Again, only if it's provided. It fails to actually require an outside chicken run, nor does it provide a minimum area to be provided. The coop is a structure that contains the nesting boxes and roosts which allow the chickens to seek shelter. The outside run is the defined area outside of the coop. And it's usually a fenced-in area that allows the chickens a specific area to dust bathe and forage. If a run is not required nor provided, the chickens would be allowed to free range, basically roam anywhere they want, which can result in numerous nuisance complaints as the chickens are left to roam the immediate neighborhood. This requirement also does not provide a minimum outside fenced area. Chickens require a minimum outdoor area to ensure a healthy flock. Lastly, as there is no requirement that the run be part of the coop structure, there are no setback or screening requirements resulting in the possible location of a chicken run in close proximity to property lines. Again, this can result in numerous nuisance, health, and environmental complaints, especially in our denser single-family neighborhoods. Am I off on my, I think I'm off on my numbering on here, I apologize. The next page, which is 3, which I don't think is correct. Chickens shall be kept for personal use only. Selling chickens, chicken manure, the breeding of chickens for commercial purposes is prohibited. We have no objection to that requirement. Same with the next one, chickens may not be slaughtered on premises. Disposal of waste materials shall be in an environmentally responsible manner, must be composted, bagged, disposed of. Storing waste for more than 7 days is prohibited. So proper waste management is crucial to ensure that the generated waste is managed so as not to cause nuisance or harm to the environment. The language that's proposed is vague, and it fails to acknowledge what in an environmentally responsible manner actually means. The department questions the allowance of composting with no additional requirements, as this can bring a whole host of nuisance issues, including odor, flies, groundwater contamination, and rodents. The failure to provide specific litter and disposal management requirements, which includes the manner of disposal, the size, and the location of the compost area, is problematic for the reasons noted, especially in the RA8 and RA20 properties, zoned properties. Again, it may not be, again, you're considering an 8,000 square foot parcel, whether it has enough for the house, a shed, the driveway, the garage. Now you're gonna have a chicken coop, a chicken run, and a compost area. It begs the question, is that lot going to be big enough? And the manner in which it's to be stored is also not provided. The odor emanating from chicken manure and the presence of flies is a recognized nuisance. The failure to require a manure management plan, the lack of controls with respect to the storage and the length of time and the location are concerns for the department and can prove to be significant nuisance issues for any property in the RA zoning district. The existing regulations as it pertains to the keeping of horses as pets does not allow the storage of manure. Begs the question, if we don't allow it for that, why would we allow it for poultry or for chickens? There should be no more than 1 chicken coop per property. Department has no objection. And the last one, chicken coops must be properly maintained and cleaned for a healthy and safe flock. We don't object to this, except that it does not acknowledge the control of nuisance issues and proper controls to regulate health and safety of the flock. So under general comments, so I think the text amendment fails to address nuisances as defined in the Connecticut General Statutes, which I won't repeat. The department is also in receipt, which I've attached, a letter from Fernanda Carvalho, who's our Director of Health. She detailed her concerns with respect to health, environmental, and nuisance concerns related to the amendment. A chicken coop in a run could potentially cause significant damage to yards, leading to soil degradation, the formation of hardpan soil, and the possible groundwater contamination. The presence of chickens in their waste increases phosphates and salts in surrounding soils, contributes to unhealthy soil conditions and the formation of hardpan, which reduces the absorption capacity and increases runoff rates, especially during heavy rainfall events. This runoff, which includes waste from the outdoor chicken run, could potentially affect the potability of private wells, the proper functioning of septic systems, and result in negative impacts to wetlands and watercourses, which is also highlighted in the Director of Health's letter. These issues are magnified and places an unfair burden on neighboring properties, especially when the coop is permitted within 20 feet of the property line, and there's no restrictions on the location of that chicken run. The text amendment also does not restrict roosters. Most of the complaints we receive are related to roosters and the noise that they emit. The commission must determine whether the absence of controls requirements regarding the keeping of roosters aligns with the best interests of the city and fulfills the purpose and intent of the RA zoning district, which I've quoted right in the next paragraph. Based off of our research, most municipalities prohibit roosters, and they consider them a nuisance. With respect to compliance of the POCD, the land use and environmental resources section emphasizes the importance of safeguarding the city's environmental assets, which includes protection of soils, wetlands, watercourses, and other sensitive areas. This text amendment does not take into account a site suitability factors. These include steep slopes, impact for on-site and off-site septic systems, wells, surface water, wetlands, soil characteristics, and surface water runoff. These are all things that affect the constructability of a lot, if it's suitable for anything. Neglecting to assess a site's suitability for the keeping of poultry in all RA zoning districts could lead to significant negative effects on the health and functionality of the city's environmental resources. In conclusion, the department expresses serious concerns regarding the proposed text amendments focused solely on regulating chickens without considering other varieties of poultry. This approach is deemed risky as poultry encompasses, as I noted earlier, a wide range of species beyond just chickens. Permitting poultry as pets with restrictions applicable only to chickens can lead to unintended negative impacts across all of the RA zoning districts. The text amendment requires, in our opinion, requires further clarity, stricter controls to effectively address the health, environmental, and nuisance issues outlined above. Again, just to reiterate, the health risks include potential transmission of diseases between chickens and humans, which, again, I'm not an expert in the health risks. That's why you have the letter from the health director who outlined that. Environmental concerns encompass threats such as wetland damage, ground and surface water pollution, and soil degradation. The identified nuisances, odor, flies, noise, and rodent infestations. Additional controls are required to specifically address site suitability aimed at protecting soil and water quality, on-site sewage disposal areas, wells, surface water, and impacts on neighboring properties and natural resources. While small plot farming and urban backyard farming offer certain benefits, the commissions must carefully weigh whether allowing poultry as pets aligns with safeguarding public health, safety, and welfare, as well as fulfilling the purpose and intent of our residential zoning districts. For the reasons contained herein, the department does not support the proposed text amendment. Are there any questions?
Would anyone like to comment at this time on this referral? Jen, let me make sure I have this straight. Back in January of 24, the zoning enforcement officer issued a cease and desist for Xavier and Alina Gomez, who live on Long Ridge Road. I imagine they live on Long Ridge Road, because they were using their property as a farm for the keeping of poultry.
Correct.
So I imagine somebody on Long Ridge Road complained about this, and Sean Harity responded, and he issued a cease and desist order. A couple of months later, Attorney Marcus wrote a letter to the then Mayor Esposito, appealing the citation for reasons in his letter of March 29th. And then Sean, I'll see here, there was a letter from the city of Danbury from Sean Harity on November 16th of 2023, which responded to Attorney Marcus's concerns. So I guess someone complained that on Long Ridge Road there was a property being used for farming or poultry, and there was a cease and desist order issued. So instead of the person who was raising the poultry just stopping it, which is what a cease and desist order seeks to do, they contacted Attorney Marcus, and his solution was to classify poultry as household pets, and then ask for a text amendment to allow it not only in the RA 80, but in all the residential zones in Danbury. Is that a fair characterization of the genesis of this whole thing?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I just think, I've been around land use a long time, and in the city, and from both the zoning commission and the planning commission, I just think this is a real bad idea. I mean, on so many different levels, I don't want to paraphrase or restate everything that Jennifer went through. I'll leave my other commission members to do that. I mean, for gosh sakes, folks, we're a city. We have about 90,000 people living here. We're not going to be going back to a farm economy anytime in the near future. And, this text amendment, it's going to require our zoning enforcement officer to count chickens, and it's going to be extremely difficult to enforce. And it's just not in keeping with what we're trying to accomplish here, which is looking out for the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the city of Danbury. I mean, Jennifer did not read the letter from the health department, from Fernanda Carvalho, of the Director of Health and Human Services in Danbury. But I'll share a couple of things I underlined on it. The proposed amendment addresses the health and safety of the flock, specifically that chicken coops and outdoor areas must be properly maintained and cleaned for the health and safety of the flock. Oversight of this section of the proposed amendment will be challenging, and the diseases that may result from this can negatively impact health. It is important to note that several diseases can be transmitted by chickens, some of which can be transmitted from chickens to humans. And she goes on to list the diseases. there's another part of the letter I'll share. The proposed amendment does not address the attraction of pests, odor, and surface runoff through this practice. Chickens attract pests, rodents, predators, flies, and other insects. The composting of chicken waste can lead to an increase in the attraction of pests and rodents and can spread disease and pose a risk to public health. This is our own Director of Health and Human Services writing this. This isn't me, this isn't Jennifer. And on page 1 of her report, it says, our department receives several complaints annually regarding the illegal sale of poultry on social media platforms or out of the trunks of vehicles. Some of this illegal activity resulted in the health department working in conjunction with the Danbury Police Department to issue citations. And her last paragraph, which I'll read, says, given these health concerns, it is evident that the raising of chickens in our community presents significant public health risks and must be carefully considered. The potential zoonotic disease transmission, pest attraction, air and water quality concerns, environmental concerns, and challenges in ensuring regulatory compliance collectively indicate the public health risks with this practice. So, I mean, you know, I'll keep an open mind. I'll listen to anyone else that has an opinion to the contrary, but I just, you know, you just read this, poultry as household pets. That's how it was submitted. Poultry as household pets. Like a dog or a cat. I mean, you know, folks, unless I'm missing something, in my opinion, we should give this a negative recommendation and send a very strong message to the zoning commission, you know, that here in Danbury, we don't eat our pets. And we think this is a bad idea. So I've said enough. Anybody else can go ahead.
If I may,
Please.
I don't know if I feel quite as strongly, but I do feel it should be a negative referral. And I think there's many reasons that were outlined by staff as to why. Is there an appropriate sized amount of land that is less than 5 acres that could be appropriate for backyard chickens if, you know, responsibly regulated and all the concerns, you know, addressed that the staff brought up, perhaps? But this isn't that application, and for those reasons, I think it should be a negative referral.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go along with everything you both said. I totally agree. This is not ready for, you know, enactment, so.
Mr. Chiocchio.
I agree with what has been said, although I'm not totally opposed. I'm not opposed to having chickens in residential zones. I do worry about the nuisance factor that easily can come with that, and the possibility of burdening, you know, city resources to monitor and manage this. With that said, you know, this is way too broad of an application. So just based on what we said, I agree with a negative referral. However, I do think that there might be some areas where we could consider, I would call them chickens only, no roosters, in a residential zone, maybe in 3 acres or more, or 2 acres or more. I think probably might be acceptable. And, you know, I think there needs to be a lot more requirements regarding, you know, coop sizes and, you know, no free ranging around, because that could get out of control, and the right amount of height of fencing, and again, obviously some health regulations I think need to be included in that. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah. And Kevin, do you have anything?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Bob. There's a place for it, and there's chickens in my neighborhood, and they're not really a problem, but people only have maybe 5, maybe 6, and they're not supposed to have them. but they're not an issue. A dozen or more becomes a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not dead set against it. I pulled the definition of a farm from our regs, and I think it's a little dated. I won't read the whole thing. A tract of 5 acres or more used for agricultural, forestry, nursery, or truck gardening, or for raising of animals for laboratory use or for fur. Fur? I mean, obviously this definition is old. It might go back to the fur factories in Danbury when we were making hats. I don't know. But I do feel that, you know, perhaps the zoning commission could take a look at the definition of a farm and make it a little bit more contemporary. But that's a side issue. We have to deal with the application that's been submitted. So Jennifer wrote a 6-page report. A lot of the concerns are there. We've got a very strong letter from our own Department of Health. So that's it. Any more questions or discussion for Jennifer or anybody else? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, can you guys have to make a statement about compliance with the POCD?
In the motion?
Well, discussion and part of the motion, please.
No discussion.
All right, Jen, and forgive me, this was a long report.
I know, I'm sorry. The POCD is on page 5.
And let's just take a look at it. The role of the POCD is the guidance, functions, demands.
Keep going, it's the 3rd paragraph.
All right. The land use and environmental resources section of the POCD emphasizes the importance of safeguarding the city's environmental assets. This section outlines various strategies to protect soils, wetlands, watercourses, and other sensitive areas. However, the proposed amendment does not take into account site suitability factors such as steep slopes, the potential impact on on-site and off-site septic systems, wells, surface water, wetlands, soil characteristics, and surface water runoff. Neglecting to assess a site's suitability for the keeping of poultry in all RA zoning districts could lead to significant negative effects on the health and functionality of the city's environmental resources. So I guess it's because of the shortcomings of the application, it's not in compliance with the POCD. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, if you remember the POCD, we had the land use and environmental section. And part of that section and a lot of the strategies and tasks within and actions, and not tasks, the actions were geared towards protecting the environment and our resources.
Okay, so to the extent that it doesn't protect our environment and resources, it's not in compliance with the POCD.
Correct. Yes, that's my point.
Okay, with that said, commission members, would anyone like to make a motion here?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for a negative referral of this petition due to the many concerns stated in the comprehensive staff report, the concerns documented by the Director of Health in her letter, and the misalignment of this petition with the POCD's land use and environmental requirements.
Thank you, Helen. A motion for a negative recommendation. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Chiocchio. Is there any discussion? Okay, again, we'll take a voice vote. A yes is for a negative recommendation. A no is not for a negative recommendation. All in favor of a negative referral, please say aye.
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 Opposed? I believe it's unanimous. This referral gets a negative from the Planning Commission to zoning. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Jen. It was a lot of work for this one.
Yes, very.
And a lot of research, a lot of time.
Thank you.
Okay.
I know more about chickens than,
Yeah, than you ever wanted to know, right? I know.
yeah.
Okay, that's it for the 8-3A. We've got two 8-2-4 referrals. The first one is 8-2-4 referral, July City Council Agenda Item number 6, lease agreement with the City of Danbury and the Summit 100 Reserve Road and the police substation and emergency management workplace EOC alternate site. Back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, both of these, referrals are generally the same. It's a lease agreement with SCL Office LLC, which is basically the Summit. The first one is for to allow a substation, emergency management, a substation in the police substation at the Summit. The request came from Matt Casavecchia, Director of OEM, for this lease agreement. The agreement sets forth the terms to utilize approximately 950 square feet of the Summit substation, the police substation, which is located at 100 Reserve Road. Staff has no objection to the approval of the lease, provided the Office of Corporation Counsel approves it, and any additional lease terms deemed appropriate by City Council.
Thank you, Jen. Nice and simple. Commission members, any questions for Jennifer on this one? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Positive or negative?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for a positive referral, subject to the approval of this lease by the Office of Corporate Counsel and also any additional lease terms deemed appropriate by the City Council.
Motion for a positive referral from Ms. Hofstadter. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Sylvain. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll try your minds. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? This 8-2-4 referral gets a positive referral. I gotta watch my terms here from the Planning Commission. Okay, the next one, 8-2-4 referrals, July City Council Agenda Item number 7, lease agreement between the City of Danbury and the Summit 100 Reserve Road for emergency commodities staging and mass distribution. Jennifer.
Mr. Chairman, again, this is similar to the last one. Request came in from Matt Casavecchia. The agreement sets forth the terms to utilize portions of the Summit building for the purpose of staging and distribution of commodities to the public in the aftermath of any declared local disasters. The designated areas will be used as distribution points, staging, loading, and access areas. Staff has no objection. Subject to review and approval of the lease by the Office of Corporation Counsel and any additional terms deemed appropriate by City Council.
Thank you, Jen. Commission members, any questions for Jennifer on this one? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion for a positive referral. And I'd just like to note, I think it's great that we're putting these plans in place.
Yes,
Yep.
I agree.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Motion
Second.
made for a positive referral, seconded by Mr. Haas. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? This second 8-2-4 referral gets a positive from planning. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Commission members, you'll see a couple of items under new business. Barnum Real Estate LLC, 3775 LLC. Looks like Barnum is coming up on August 7th. It's a special exception. 3775 coming up on August 21st. There's no correspondence. There is one thing under other matters for discussion and possible action, discussion and vote on amending the Planning Commission bylaws to change the starting time of the regular meetings to 7 p.m. So, you know, we've been 7:30 forever, and I guess we discussed this, and I guess going to 7 p.m. is acceptable and okay with everyone. The bylaws have been distributed, were previously distributed, and I think that is the only change, right?
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman.
Yes.
I typed them because we only had them in a PDF form, and there were 2 or 3 references to the Freedom of Information Act and the city ordinances and the state statutes. I had to update the sections. But
Okay.
other than that, the only other change is and also we used to have our own They used to have individual budgets for the commissions when I first got here 35, 37 years ago. And we no longer do now. All your stuff comes out of the planning department budget. So I eliminated a line that said that the chairman had the authority to authorize expenses up to $100 too. But if you don't want to do that, we can leave it in there. It's fine.
I never even knew I had the authority to
See, you
authorize
know?
expenses.
But
30
those
years.
were the changes. There are like 4 changes actually, but only one of them has to do with the time. And the others were ministerial, I guess, because they had to put the Freedom Information Act hadn't even been approved when they did these.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I had to put that in the statutes, and the city ordinances have changed, so I had to change the section reference.
Okay.
But that's it.
Thanks for that, Joanne. Yeah, now that I look at it, there are a couple of minor, I guess ministerial is the word, changes, just to update them and make them contemporary with what's going on here. So does anyone have any issues on this? Any questions? I think we have to vote on this, don't we? Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chair,
Ellen.
I just had a question here because it says 7 PM at City Hall, which, as you
Yeah.
know, we have an
Sorry.
option. I think we have an option to have these Zoom meetings. And
Excuse
that's
me.
not addressed, so I was wondering what that meant in terms of our continued meeting by
Well, that
Zoom.
came up during zoning too, because zoning just did the same thing. And Corporation Council said it was okay to leave it that way because that's the way, we're not going to mention Zoom and get into all that on there. Because zoning, the same thing came up, the same question. It says here, City Hall, but it's okay because as long as the agenda lists the appropriate place, he said it was okay.
Okay, good. That's Corporation Council, you said.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, so we don't want to mention Zoom because Zoom isn't the only way you can have a virtual meeting. You can do it on
True.
Microsoft Teams, you can do it
Yeah.
other ways. So I can understand that. But it just doesn't address virtual meetings at all. The bylaws are silent on the issue, which I guess is okay. I
If
mean,
you want to add it, I can revise them again and we can do this at the next meeting.
I think the agenda note and the notice takes care of the place and time of the meeting, whether it's virtual or in person and where it is. So I would be okay the way it is unless you really want to change it.
no, I'm okay with the way it is too. Yeah, I just don't know if it's necessary to. So this is planning
Corporation
commission.
Council, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, if Corporation Council thinks we have that option, then I would say we could just leave it then.
Okay. All right. And just out of curiosity, the heading on this document is Planning Commission bylaws. Does Zoning Commission have bylaws? Does the EIC have bylaws? And they're all silent on the issue of virtual meetings?
Yes.
Then the hell, okay, then it's fine. Okay, then we'll just go with that. All right, commission members, if everybody's okay with the revisions to the Planning Commission bylaws, I'll entertain a motion to accept them.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the change in bylaws.
Thank you, Helen. Is that a second for Mr. Kyokyo? Did I see your hand?
Yes.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to accept and approve of the revisions to the Planning Commission bylaws. Any discussion? All in favor?
I
Please.
have one question. So when this there has to be a time period for this?
You have
be
to set a
effective?
time when you want to start
Oh,
doing it.
Oh,
You want to
Well-
do it the next meeting, you want to put it off for 2 meetings, zoning put it off for 2 meetings. They
I mean,
just
it's a half
announced
hour.
the date.
it's a half hour earlier, folks. It doesn't matter to me. If you want to be consistent with zoning, you can put it off for 2 meetings, but it
No,
doesn't.
I meant our next meeting is August, what's our next meeting? August 7th, is that right,
August.
Jen?
Yeah, August 7th. So what we end up having to do is, since we've got two new public hearings coming, we have to advertise it correctly to say
Oh,
7
okay.
o'clock. So, if you want to start August 7th, that's fine. If you want to delay it to after Labor Day, I think that's the point Joanne's making. We just need to
mean-
know so we can advertise it correctly.
Anyone have a problem with meeting at 7 o'clock on August 7th? Is that okay?
No. I'm okay.
me
Okay.
too.
Okay,
There you go. Next meeting, let's just get this done.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Okay, thank you.
We just have to vote, I think.
Oh,
Right, vote.
yeah. You didn't
Oh,
vote
yes.
yet.
All in favor of the revisions, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The revisions are approved and will go into effect for our next meeting on August 7th. Thanks, Joanne, for that. There's nothing under for reference only, commission members, so unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We had a motion by Mr. Sylvain, seconded by Mr. Kyokyo. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Everyone.